Right. So we should be good to go. All right. Welcome, everybody. It's Chalice and Chains. I am going to be running some Edge of the Empire today, and this will be a highly improv game because unfortunately 2 of my regular players for my campaign cannot make it. So today we will be featuring my friend Rory, who is playing Hemi, the Duros Slicer. This is a prologue session, so Hemi is part of the Rebel Alliance, and currently the rebels have been sent to Ryloth to meet up with a sort of Ryloth, a Twi'lek underground operative who has come into possession of some Imperial data that supposedly is or will reveal some, battle plans and some important military strategy in the future. And one of his squad mates by the name of Charlie, played by Chris, is also accompanying him. They have touched down on Ryloth in, the dark of night, this dank, tepid planet, and very very desert-like, right outside of hut space. And most of the crew has gone ahead to find this contact named Buraban. Now, Buraban is again, part of the underground, the resistance, not officially part of the Rebel Alliance, but fights against the Imperial presence on Ryloth. Now, there's not a ton of Imperials on Ryloth at the moment, as the Hutts generally take claim over Ryloth, but in this case, there is a small garrison, especially because they have also tracked Buraban and his crew back here. And so it's basically a race between the rebels and the Imperials to see who can acquire this data first and hopefully get the data decrypted and transmitted back to the Rebel Alliance. So Hemi and Charlie, you find yourselves in basically the cockpit area of an old Corellian freighter that you guys basically used to come here. You were trying to kind of come in unnoticed, incognito, and so far, Hemi, you've come in with a crew. Your commander, Barak Rin, has led basically the ground troops down on the ground, and he's searching for the coordinates for where Buraban and his crew are supposed to be. And he's told you to wait here and wait for his signal, and hopefully, and if any Imperials show up, deal with them. Charlie has been left behind basically as a guard to make sure that if in fact Imperials do show up, you have a chance of handling them. And she's a pilot, so
comes in handy.
Yes, definitely. And so right now you guys have picked up on the scanners because you've been actively scanning that an Imperial patrol seems to be nearby. So Hemi, if you want to attempt to make a computer's check for me, you can, to kind of more accurately pinpoint their location, and see if they're coming towards you or if they would be heading, towards your companions. And in this case, let me pull up my dice window because I forgot to do that.
Yeah, so this is my first time using Roll20 here to roll. So how exactly? I'm on the character screen because I was looking at my.
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay.
So what you'll do is you'll want to go down kind of midway through where it says skills. There should be like a group of a list of like red buttons, and you'll hit skills. And then in that you'll have computers. Now, actually, before we do that though, under your dice pool, why don't we roll the destiny pool? Because that would be important. Before you do that though, let me now I have to set it. Hold on here. Player update. All right, should be back to 0. Okay, now go ahead and each of you, if you can, roll the destiny pool.
Should I sync pool with GM first or roll first?
Roll it first.
Okay. Did that work?
Oh,
yes, it did.
Okay, and I'm now going to sync pool with GM.
Perfect. All right. So you guys have 2 light side points, and I have 1 dark side point to play with. I don't know officially how it works, but I, as the GM, don't typically roll dice.
That's right. Remember, I can't actually, for whatever reason, it doesn't show up on my computer for some reason, but it works. Like, I can use a light side point, I just can't see what the current balance is. So I just have to remember it's 2 and 1.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I'll put that in, you know what? I'll put it in the chat as well. I'm going to put it in our Discord chat, actually, because 2 light side, 1 dark side, because the other one will get buried as we do some rolls. Okay, so that's good. So we have a destiny pool set. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set just a standard 2 purple difficulty for you on the computer's roll to help kind of figure out where these Imperials are going. And I think right now, I can't think of any reasons why you would have any setbacks or boost dice. But if you can think of anything, please let me know. Otherwise, feel free to click the little button next to your computers whenever you can.
The only thing I could argue as a possible reason to have a boost is that the Hemi that we've known is drug-addled as a result of these things, and he is right now as sharp as he's probably ever been. Just, if that doesn't give him boost, at least let that be known.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Now, to figure out how to do this again. Okay, so, go down to the level of skills, and computers, which is right up at the top. And so I'm just hitting that dice symbol to the right of it?
Yep. And I've set the difficulty on my end, so it should calculate everything. Yep.
Okay, so I'm just hitting this dice. Wow, this is really easy, if that was done. Okay, I apparently don't see any dice rolls, because I have no idea what came up.
Oh, okay. Do you have the chat window open in Roll20?
Maybe not.
It should be the very first little window thing up at the top, right?
My bad. Yep, I see it here.
Oh, good. Okay, so you got that. So you got 2 successes and 2 advantages.
Nice.
So yes, so that's a very good roll. Okay, so you notice that right now the Imperial presence, you picked up heat signatures from vehicles. So what this looks like is actually a armored speeder. And it's not heading towards your location. In fact, the signature that you're getting, their transponder, and the heat signatures that you're picking up from your scanners are indicating that they are heading in the direction that your crew has gone. So if you want to, you can alert Commander Rin of that situation. You would want to make another computers check to do that. But because if you just straight up get on the comms, the Imperials might pick that up.
Right.
So
yes. So Hemi comes out, he pulls out his slicer gear and opens it up, and he has his hacking computer out, and you hear his knuckles crack, and he just starts hacking away, and he's kind of staring a little bit. He says, he's getting excited. He's like, "Oh yes, I've got you. I've got you. Oh, now where are you going?" And he zooms out, and he sees that they're heading in towards his companions. And he immediately, with one hand, tries to adjust his comm, and with the other hand, he is hitting buttons furiously, trying to bypass the main channel and get to a different channel.
Nice.
And meanwhile, Charlie, you would see all of this happening as well. You might, hear what he's saying. So how would you react as he's doing this?
Good question. Yeah. I think I'd be concerned about whether I need to do something with the ship to help camouflage it. So,
you wouldn't necessarily. Right now, you guys basically kind of landed it in a canyon, under sort of like a cliff ledge. So you're fairly hidden from view in terms of like aerial surveillance or drones or anything. But the risk is that if you any transmissions that you make or any major uses of the power, shields, engines, whatever, could potentially, if anyone's scanning for you, call attention to you.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I would probably just let him concentrate on what he's doing and probably have a tense eye on the situation.
Alrighty, sounds good. And so, Hemi, if you want, again, to attempt to alert your companion, probably with putting out like a jamming signal, I would imagine, so that, so they will likely know that there are rebel operatives here, but you get the impression that they probably already do. So you're not too concerned about that. Your big concern would be not letting them know exactly where you are.
Yeah, I rolled before when I was doing the description.
Oh, all right, great. Wow. Holy moly. So you got success and a whole bunch of advantages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So yeah, you get through to Commander Barak Rin. And you know that the commander is very sort of gruff, very no nonsense. This guy, this guy will he's like nasty. He's like the kind of guy that will follow orders to a fault and sometimes maybe even go above and beyond in a violent manner. So this is the guy who, they send in when they need stuff to get done. And he does not take too kindly to the shenanigans from his crew, drugs or otherwise. So you guys don't have the best relationship. But you kind of open the comm channel and he says, Hemi, this better be good. What are you doing risking communication?
Commander Rim, I have jammed the enemies. They should not be able to hear this, but I must bring alert. There are heavy transports coming in towards your location. They seem to know you're there.
You hear, crap. And then he's like, all right, squad, form up, be on the lookout. Heavy's on the way. And he says, all right, Hemi, thank you. Listen, we're almost to the rendezvous point. I believe that this Buraban should find us soon. I think we're going to need you to get here. Communications that we had said that chances are, and especially with this new news, we're not going to be able to get back to the ship to be able to transmit this data. And unfortunately, we can't transmit it to you wirelessly. So we're going to need you to get here on foot. Can you do that?
On foot, the enemy is very active, Commander. I can see from the screens. I don't think I'd have much chance of making it.
He's like, just get here, Hemi. And then he closes off, cuts off communication. So you'd be able to track him. You probably have like a transponder or something that would allow you to do that, but...
Crap. Charlie.
Yeah.
He wants us to link up with them, do a direct data transfer. I need to get my slicer gear I'm going to need to get close. And he kind of reaches over, and I think he probably pulls something like off the side of his main laptop, and it kind of has like a small screen on it. And you said I could see where he was based on his transmitter, so I think that is kind of how he does it. Takes it. And how far do you think he would be? And do you think I could tell that from this transmitter?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys have the technology to be able to basically find each other's positions, and you would probably have like a mobile data pad like linked into your linked into your stuff here. Oh, sorry, my mic is proceeding to try to fall down on me. But yes, you would be able to find him. He's probably within a few hundred meters away from you.
So I would take the screen and I would turn to Charlie and just kind of finish. Looks like we're going to have to get about 250 meters.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to need... Wow. What are we going to... Okay. So Charlie, start gearing up and make sure there's ammo and whatnot ready to go. And I guess we got to do what we got to do.
Damn, Commander, I'm a slicer.
Such a nice guy.
He's looking around. Sam, do we have any weapons that we might not have on our regular poor characters from our main campaign available to us?
I mean, yeah, you would have like a standard standard issue blaster rifle. So, and potentially if you needed to, you could have some grenades. I don't know if you guys have those. If not, I can find them in the book, or if you guys have the book available, you can find them in there as well. But if you need them, I can certainly provide you with the stats.
I have the book up, and that's perfect. Because okay. I would take the rifle and I would kind of toss it over to Charlie, and say, you take that. And he has his little light blaster that he keeps. That's about all Hemi is trained to use.
Yeah.
And he just grabs a couple of grenades for himself and puts them into his the outside pocket of his slicer pack.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right. And so you guys are going to head out basically into this sort of rocky kind of desert towards the location. So right now, essentially what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to either kind of weave your way through this canyon, and you don't quite know, you don't have a layout of the canyon. The commander did. You would just, the general direction that you need to go in. Or you kind of ascertain from where you are that you could probably try to go topside, but you'd have to climb up the canyon. And you guys would probably have, the gear to do so. But either way, there's definitely a risk of potentially getting lost.
I mean, Hemi is not trained for that sort of thing. And he has a bunch of computer stuff that he carries with him.
Mm-hmm.
So he would kind of look over to Charlie and just be like, and I kind of see the beginning kind of like in E.T. He hits a button and the ship that they're on, the door opens up, and it's kind of creepy outside, and he kind of looks at the portable screen, is like, I can tell you we have to be 250 meters that way. Do you think you can navigate these? They're caverns, you said?
Yeah.
Can you navigate these caverns?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Why don't you take the lead?
Looks at you and sizes you up, and no way is he gonna scale any walls. So, yeah, let's hit it.
All right, and so if probably Charlie, if you could make a survival check for me, and I'm going to put this against a difficulty of 3, because you really don't know the area here. And I will give you a boost because Hemi is able to continue to ping kind of on their location. But it will still be difficult nonetheless. So I've got 3 purple set for you right now, as well as a boost dice.
I don't have to do that here.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. You can literally just go to your skills.
What you do.
That's weird. You won't because it's the GM's
okay.
dice pool. Well, I don't know if it shows up or not in the where it shows dice pool at the top of your sheet. I don't think it does.
There we go. Hey.
Wow.
2 successes and an advantage.
Man, you guys are having a lot more luck with roll 20, huh? Than we were with the other dice roller. Nice. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So perfect. So Charlie, you're able to kind of, between checking in with Hemi, checking on his, his scanner and whatever, and your kind of your own natural like survival skills. I mean, that's, apart from your piloting, this is another reason why you are a valued member of the Rebel Alliance. And you've kind of managed to pick your way through this canyon, avoiding, some of the steeper embankments. And, there's one time where, you're kind of scaling along this ledge, looking straight down at probably like 100-foot drop down into this just darkness. And Hemi, kind of having his eyes on the datapad screen, not really focusing too much on his surroundings, slips on some loose gravel and nearly falls down. And I almost imagine as you grab him, your hand grabs out and grabs the front of his shirt, and he's sort of flailing for a minute, and the datapad kind of like pops up, and he like fumbles it a minute, and then he grabs onto it. And you manage to pull him back onto the trail. And how would you guys react in that moment?
Like Hemi would literally pee himself.
Oh.
Like, I mean, he thought he was dead for sure.
Charlie, you gotta watch your step, man. You gotta watch where you're going. Can I take some of that stuff off your hands? We don't want to lose you before we get where we're going.
And Hemi kind of like grabs at the bag a little bit. He's like, no, it's okay. And he's kind of like lean back as far as he can away from the ledge now, really paying attention. He's like, I will, I'll be okay.
So we'll get to this point up here, and you can check your data pad again, but we got to navigate this. So, do what I do. Be careful. Follow my footsteps.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
And Hemi, just as she says that, you start seeing this like, the 2 dots on your data pad, the red ones for the Imperials and the green ones for you guys, sort of getting closer and closer and closer. And it's very, very distracting. And if you could make a discipline check for me, I'm going to give you a boost dice from Sasha's survival check there. But Sasha, do you have any ranks Charlie, for this game, do you have any ranks in leadership?
Let's see. No.
Okay. So what I'm going to do then in this case is I'm just going to set it against a standard 2 purple difficulty, and I'm giving you the 1 boost.
Okay, I'm going to roll.
Oh, it all canceled out.
Oh, wow. I was like, I don't see anything.
Yep. It all canceled. Awesome. All right. So
wash.
Yeah. So that's technically a failure. So what starts to happen, Charlie, you move ahead. You've got your eyes on the trail ahead of you, and you've come to this point where you basically, it's a proverbial fork in the road, right? So you've at this point you've gotten to a spot where you can, if you go through this like little sort of cave tunnel area, it's going to lead you out. You can see the bank sort of sloping up on the inside a little bit, but it's going to lead you out into exposed terrain. And because you guys, this is nighttime, you're having to carry your like glow rods with you. You could also potentially climb a short embankment. It wouldn't be too difficult, and you think even Hemi should be able to do it. It would require an athletics roll, but it wouldn't be terribly difficult. But it would also leave you a little bit less exposed topside. But as you realize this is happening, you realize that Hemi has fallen behind. He's totally fixated on his data pad at this point. And Hemi, you realize that it's probably just a matter of minutes before the Imperials and your comrades are going to intersect.
And do I have an expectation of how long it's going to take me to get to him at the pace I'm going?
No, because at the moment you're totally focused on the data pad. Like, oh shit, you know what's gonna happen? They're gonna meet. I gotta get there. Oh.
So yeah, I just start to like again. I'm not looking, and I'm looking at my data pad, and he just kind of starts to run forward like the last way he had seen Charlie going.
All right, nice. And Charlie, yeah, so you see Hemi kind of barreling forward. The ground is safe here. He's not going to do anything, but he is making a bit of noise. And you're not quite sure how close you might be to these Imperials, but you also know that there are probably some sort of dangerous predators in this, in these canyons.
Yeah.
So how do you react to this?
I'm going to head toward him. Back toward him and try to catch his attention with my body language, hands or whatever, and just kind of, Hemi, hey, slow down. I'll wait for you. Dude, can you make a little more noise?
And if it's okay,
bring everything down on us.
I think Hemi doesn't hear this, but he ends up basically running into you. Like the ground is sloping up a little bit, so he's slowing down and kind of stumbling over his own feet.
Whoa, hold up.
And he just kind of looks up from the screen. They're almost on top of them. We have to hurry or we'll be too late.
Okay, but we don't want them to get us before we get to them, so...
And that will kind of snap into him, and he'll become like terrified again, and just kind of like look around. Oh no!
Okay.
Did you see anyone?
Deep breaths. Calm yourself. All right, I think we should head up this embankment. We'll have a little more cover if we go that way. Can you manage it?
Yes, of course. I'll try.
All right. And so what I want you then to do is I want you each to, well, actually, no, I want you guys to make a group athletics check for me. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to use whoever has, I think athletics is based on brawn. Yeah. So whoever's got the highest brawn would set the total pool. I'm assuming Charlie probably has the highest brawn and skill in athletics.
-2.
Okay, and did you take any ranks? Yep. And did you take any ranks in athletics?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do then in this case is we're going to do your straight roll.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a boost dice because I feel like Hemi, as best he can, would be attempting to help in this case. Try to help get up there as much as we can. And it's not terribly difficult. So it's just going to be against a 2 difficulty here. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my dark side point. You notice that up on the top, because you're basically trying to get up to the high ground, right? By sort of climbing. Okay. You notice that up there, not directly where you'll come out, but within a short distance is some sort of 4-legged, creature kind of scampering along, pawing along a little bit. So there's something up there that may or may not see you when you get to the top.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do in that case is I'm actually going to use that to upgrade the difficulty here to a red. So what was a fairly mundane check now has become a little bit more difficult.
All right.
So I've set everything on my side for you. Okay.
Look at that.
Wow.
Ooh.
All right.
Ooh,
Okay.
but isn't that a... Oh, it's a threat. Good.
Yeah, it's a super success with one threat. So, okay, this is what I'm going to say happens. You're going to take a point of strain, Charlie, because you were worried about this. However, you're able to get up this thing very easily. And Hemi, to his credit, seems to exhibit this skill that maybe you didn't know he had. He's like scrambles right up there, and you manage to find like a pretty good spot. There's this weird little copse of these like very sparse trees that is enough to give you cover. Now, you've also had the foresight at this point to turn off your glow lights, so you're in the darkness right now. And you can hear the sort of the breathing and these footsteps of this quadrupedal creature. But even more, off in the distance, you can see the lights from a settlement. They're very sort of like on Ryloth. They have a lot of their settlements built into these caves. Some of them are freestanding buildings within like a little, sort of canyon area. And then many of them are also built into the cave structures as well. So you notice this, and there is it looks like maybe 2 or 3 kind of broken down speeders. And then a little ways off, a little further out, you see lights kind of coming in, off to the west a little bit. And you would assume that that's probably the Imperial Patrol.
Okay.
So, what do you guys do?
So first, you'd see Hemi kind of slide into that copse, like holding all of his things on his lap and with his back to anything, kind of breathing a little heavy, but calming down from being able to make the climb and being pretty happy about that. And he's just going to kind of look over to Charlie. And Charlie, is it you that sees the lights?
Yeah, so I give you a good encouraging pat on the shoulder, and I kind of point the lights out to you. I hold my finger to my lips and point. And I also point out the 4-legged whatever. And I ready my rifle just in case. And then I pause to give you a minute to see what else you can learn from your datapad.
So yeah, if I look back down at my datapad and try to use it to gauge distances between the 3 parties, each other, and so on, can I make a computer's check to see how that goes?
Yeah, absolutely. You can. Now, I'm going to impose a setback here because as soon as you turn the data pad on, it illuminates your face. There's a little bit of light, and it's not enough to give off like a huge amount of light, but you're very well aware of the fact that creature that's out there could see that. But it's just going to be a standard 2 difficulty.
Okay. Computer's check.
Okay. With a failure, unfortunately, you're just not quite able to make out the distance here. You keep getting distracted a little bit, and you're scanning and you're trying to boost the signal, but the problem is that because you don't have the powerful computer that you have on the ship, you're worried that if you boost the signal too far from your data pad, that it might be enough to track. So you can't quite get enough accuracy without potentially giving yourself away.
Okay, so can I try to guesstimate for Charlie?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you're kind of looking at the lights off in the distance, and you're looking at the settlement, and from where, just on a rough estimate based on your knowledge and what you were able to ascertain from the data pad, it's going to be probably at most 10 minutes before they get there.
Ooh.
It looks like we got 10 minutes, no more. Do you think we can make it?
Yeah, we're gonna have to really hustle. What do we know about the settlements here? I mean, are these people that take sides one way or the other? Are they?
So what you know is that the people of Ryloth hate the Empire. I mean, this is the Outer Rim. This is largely hut space, so they don't like the Empire. They are also very fiercely loyal. I mean, the Twi'leks are they're all over the galaxy, but they are fiercely independent. They don't want the Hutts taking them over, and they certainly don't want the Empire taking them over. So, but they are not officially part of the Rebel Alliance. So,
Okay.
That this settlement obviously is sympathetic to the rebels because they are dealing with a freedom fighter who has gotten information for them.
Right. And I'm sorry, the settlement's between us and where we need to be?
No, essentially the settlement is where you need to be. But there is some sort of four-legged creature between you and where you need to be. Yeah. And there is a rapidly approaching light coming from the west.
Oh boy. Okay. And what's the creature doing right now?
That's a good question, actually. Make a perception check for me. And excuse me, it's going to be against, oh geez, good Lord. This is tough. It's going to be against actually I'm not going to tell you, but it's going to be hard. So if you want to ensure that you find it, you may want to use one of those light side points.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
and
so you should, yeah.
With a 9.
Yeah, you should be able to just on your character sheet under dice pool, under destiny pool, it should give you a button that says use light side. Yeah, perfect.
Nice, good idea.
Yep.
Okay.
So Hemi, just for your records, we're back to 2 light and 1 dark.
Got it. See, it's actually funny. I can see it in the chat. It doesn't display on the
character sheet. All right.
Well, at least it shows it to you somewhere. That's
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. In fact, I'm liking that.
Definitely. All right, and so you then get to upgrade your check. So I've included the upgrade on your side as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you'll just do perception for me.
Perception.
Okay.
Ooh.
Hey. Ooh.
Wow.
What's
all right.
The last one?
The triumph.
Okay.
All right. So let me think for a minute, and Chris, you think too about how you being so perceptive might create a really good advantage for you. But you've also got a bunch of threats. So this is why I love this game, because you've succeeded. Some bad shit's going to happen, but some good shit can happen too.
Right.
I just have to, sorry, I have to step away for half a second. I thought I heard a moan outside. I just want to see if the little one is stirring or not. It'll just take me a second.
No problem.
Okay. Oh, darn, I was hoping he'd hit me.
So yeah, so let's see. So Charlie, you're kind of peering out into the distance, and you actually manage to notice that this creature is extremely silent, and it's very difficult to see within the darkness. And based on your survival instincts and just how creatures in the wild, this thing is definitely it's almost as if it's aware of you, like it's in stalking mode at this point.
Oh wow.
Oh, let me ask you real quick, Chris, did the perception roll, is your perception just 3 green?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So it did do the upgrade. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so you noticed that. What you've also noticed at this point is that the creature is positioned at a point now. It's basically stopped, and it's anticipating where you guys are going to be. So you think that it's probably smelled you or something along those lines. However, Can you think of anything that triumph could be used for that could help your situation?
Yeah, I'm thinking that another creature that probably froze in the brush when it saw that thing coming and saw us coming, suddenly just, you know how rabbits kind of just suddenly freak out and panic and they go darting out?
Yep.
Something that's its natural prey does that.
Okay, yeah. So we'll say that it's like a Ryloth canyon rat, and it's like one of these big sort of rats that live in like the little caves within the canyons. And yeah, as this happens, kind of the cave that you would have emerged from had you taken the other way, like there's a, you know, whatever the reason is, and you can hear that off to the side, and you see this scurry of about 4 rats running, and you could definitely see this creature, like its hackles kind of rise, and its head turns to that sound, and you see it start to run after these things. And now it's close enough to you. You get this very sort of feline look to it. So this is some sort of like desert predator cat. But it's definitely distracted from you at this point. It is chasing after this rat. So you think you guys probably have, you know, this would be your chance if you want to make a run for it, to get over to the facility.
That was awesome.
Well, I'm glad it was. Thank you. However, you're not in the clear yet. It could turn around and see you, but you have a few choices, right? I mean, you could potentially try to shoot at the thing. You could run. You could stay put until hopefully it clears. What do you guys want to do?
I kind of hadn't been looking at it, so when it runs by, I'm kind of startled, I think, and I kind of like look at it, and then I look up to Charlie. And yeah, Charlie, I'm just kind of like looking at you kind of questioningly. I didn't even know that thing was there.
Paging Charlie, are you there? Oh boy, might be having some more tech issues. Chris was saying that she was having internet issues, so hopefully... Oh, she said lost my sound. All right, can you hear us? Yes, but we can't hear you. Okay. All right, well, why don't we do this then? Why don't we take a 5-minute break? And Chris, if you want to either jump out of Discord and jump back in, see if that works, or you can try restarting, and we can see if we can get this thing going again. You want to try that? All right, cool. All right, so anyone who is watching, we are going to take 5. So stay tuned, and we will be back.
Cool. I'll be right back because I'm just going to take the opportunity to fill a bottle up with water for when I get rowdy.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, can you hear me? Hmm. Come on, you. Come on, you.
All right. Well, I am back. So for anyone who is still watching, thanks for hanging in with us. This is a completely improvised game. Unfortunately, the regular session that we were going to run, we were unable to do so because one of our players is really not feeling well. The other one wasn't able to make it. So I'm running this off, on the fly. Hopefully it'll be entertaining for both the players and the viewers. Also goes to show that while we are using the Edge of the Empire rule set, it does not mean that you have to restrict your story to just the scum and villainy. In this case, the character Hemi, his backstory was that he had some connections with the Rebel Alliance, and that some things happened that led to a falling out with the Alliance. And so we are sort of playing out that story. Also, hopefully, OBS is streaming here just fine. Not sure how the Twitch chat window and as well as the Roll20 window is showing, but hopefully it all looks good for you guys. Hey, Rory, you back?
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Hopefully Chris is able to get back here with some audio.
Oh, she's still. Oh, okay. I saw her name.
Yeah. She said she hopped back in, but she had something she was doing real quick. So hopefully she'll be.
Okay.
Oh, yep. You're back.
I'm back. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Woohoo.
Okay. Sorry, I figured while I was at it, I'd better feed the cat and like grab some food. So
yeah, no problem. It was a fortuitous timing, so that's good.
So
okay. Yeah, so I'm just looking at you.
Charlie's kind of banking on the fact that cats, in her experience, usually stick with whatever they chase. They don't usually switch targets. She knows it's a gamble, but she's hoping. So she kind of tugs you on the shoulder and she says, "Run." And she points at the settlement and I'll cover you. And so she, she's got her rifle out already. She's ready to shoot if she needs to. And she's going to follow you.
Am I properly picturing this as slightly downhill?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Hemi kind of, like, he spins as she touches his shoulder, and he sees what she says and just kind of, like, grabs his gear and holds it to his stomach and just starts, like, kind of taking off down this slight hill, gaining speed and momentum as he does.
Awesome. And so, yeah. And so you're running back, you're running in towards the settlement, Hemi, with Charlie behind you. And as you're kind of getting closer and closer to the settlement, you can actually see some lights. And you can see that there is like a couple of forms, vaguely humanoid forms that you can see that are starting to appear. And as you kind of get in closer, you see these rifles like kind of come to bear on you, and you hear this, "Ho! Who are you?"
So I'm going to, like, I can't really stop. I think I'm gonna have to kind of like go to like my knees almost to kind of stop myself. So I'm gonna like start like hitting the brakes, but then I'm gonna kind of like stumble and hit my knees, and I'm gonna be saying, "Captain Wren, I need to speak to Captain Wren."
And then you see these two pretty gruff-looking Twi'leks come out holding both holding like slug thrower rifles trained at you, and then they notice your Imperial uniform, and they recognize Captain Wren, and they start to lower their weapons for just a moment, but then they pop them right back up as Charlie kind of comes in just like a couple steps behind you, but then they lower them again seeing the Imperial uniform, and they say,
"Rebel, right?"
Yes, sorry, the Rebel uniforms, and they say, "Sorry, yes, please, come in." And they start escorting you, and they kind of point towards this like what looks almost like a cave entrance. And then you see that like there's actually, the way that this structure is built is there are like doors and sort of like half walls coming out of the canyon walls, but then up above, like on the top of the canyon, it's almost as if they've built like sort of walls or parapets up there, some sort of defensive fortifications. And you notice as you're kind of walking through towards the main entrance on your level that up above there's a flurry of activity. And Charlie would probably recognize this more so than you, Hemi, but you've been a rebel long enough. These guys look like they're mobilizing for a defense. And as you kind of make it to the door, and there's a Twi'lek standing there with his rifle, and he kind of gives you this like curt little nod, and then hits the little keypad, and the door goes. And you're kind of staring down this tunnel that's like sort of half worked stone, of the canyon walls, and half like, Duracrete kind of makeshift settlement, with these, very low sort of transparent steel lights all over the place. And there's like a flurry of activity. And on the inside, you can hear a faint sort of, and then you hear, something like, just like a droid sound, sort of, hostiles imminent, evacuation commencing. But you don't see anybody evacuating, and the door guard is like, "All right, you had three doors down, and then you will see a hallway. Go to your left. Once you go down there, you go all the way down to the end, and you will find the command room. Do not turn right. Turn left at that hallway. Got it?
Got it. Thank you.
All right. And so as you guys start moving down the hallway, the door kind of closes behind you, and you can hear just the sounds of a facility mobilizing. Whether that is to fight or to flee, you are not sure at this point. But as you kind of make it down the hallway and you start peering in, you start seeing obvious signs of guys getting ready for defense. It's these Twi'leks, men and women both, strapping on their slug throwers and their vibro blades, and a couple of them have grenades. You see a bunch of like death sticks and flasks of all, the galaxy's not finest, but most available drink. But these guys look rough. I mean, these guys look very much like some of the units you're used to in the Rebel Alliance. And they all have these sort of haunted looks on their faces, but also stoic. Like they know what's going to happen, but they know what they have to do. And so you guys kind of make your way, and you're just about to turn, you get to the crossroads where the hallway turns left and right. Was there anything you wanted to do before you head down the hallway?
I can't think of anything.
Me either.
No, right. We ran all this way to tell him as quickly as possible, so I think we'd do that.
Okay. And so I take it you do go down the right hallway?
The correct hallway?
The correct hallway.
Okay, yes, which also happens to be to the right. Yes.
Oh, I thought you said left, not
no,
right.
I did. I'm sorry. Yeah, so you head down the left hallway.
Nice try.
Yeah, and yeah, you kind of make your way into, sort of a command room, and there's like, as makeshift as it could possibly be, there's like some screens, and there's all kinds of computer banks and equipment, and you can tell that it's like a monitoring station, right? And you've got these Twi'leks with like, sort of like headphones on, listening to comm chatter, and you've got like a guy around this like hollow table where kind of with a holographic layout of the terrain. And this is probably like the best technology that they have on this planet. Like this is fairly sophisticated. And as you kind of enter the room, everybody looks up, and you see Commander Rin, as well as, maybe 3 or 4 of the squad that he brought with him, kind of standing around the table. And then you see this Twi'lek kind of at the center of everything, with like half of one of their Leku missing, or has a big chunk cut out of it, scars all over his face. This is Buraban, the underground, the resistance, right? Presumably the commander of this facility. And he looks up, and then he looks over to Commander Rin, and he says, "Who is this?" And Rin looks to you, and he says, "Hemi, thank the stars you got here. We got this data, but we need to decrypt it now. Can you get to work?"
Yes, Commander, but there's people coming in right now. The lights, there couldn't be more than 5 minutes.
We know, Hemi. We got this, but we're going to buy you time, but we need you to decrypt this data, and we need you to get this onto our disk. And he hands you, like a little data pad, transmit it over to here, and then we got to get out of here. All right. But, and as you kind of looking at the computer equipment, like this is sort of older generation equipment, and you're not even sure how well it works. Like this is probably Clone Wars era tech, that you kind of you're gonna have to like makeshift a way to connect your data pad into it. It's not gonna be fun.
I do carry a slicer kit, so I can I'm always like carrying like mods for a computer sort of thing, like things that I use, code that I use to do certain things. So I imagine like little data sticks and things that I'm going to be sticking into, or sometimes having to finagle because the two things are not actually meant, for the same system or whatever, like a USB and a micro, and he like comes up with a way to put them together, and like all these things are happening, and he's like wiping his brow now, like he's working really fast because he's not going to get out of this.
Yep.
And he'd like to get out of here as fast as possible. And if encrypting this is how he has to do it, then that's what he's going to do.
Absolutely. And so what I'll have you do for me is I'm going to actually have you make a mechanics check against a 2 purple and 1 setback, because you actually literally have to like figure out a way that you can plug your data pad into this old tech, partly because it's half broken and also because it's just not compatible. So while you're doing that, though, and you can roll that whenever you're ready. I've set the difficulty for you. But Commander Rin, don't worry, we'll resolve that in a second, looks to Charlie and he says, Sergeant, give me a situation report. How close are these guys?
Sir, they're maybe 5 minutes out. They're pretty close.
He says, Kark, all right. Fine. And he looks to his guys and his squad, and he looks to Boraban and he says, Commander Ban, we will send our men up onto the parapets with you. You need to hold off these Imperials, but we do not have time. You need to give us as much time as possible. And then he kind of yells over to you, Hemi, how long is this going to take? And you would realize it's going to take a little bit longer than you thought, but you feel like once you are able to get this thing connected, you'll be able to hack right in and get the information. So I'll give you essentially a boost dice on your next check.
Okay.
But essentially you are going to have to make another mechanics check for me. And if you can, and keep in mind, you do still have a, you don't need it, a light side point.
Oh, shoot, you're right.
But I gave you the boost dice there in here. So that's cool. So yeah, you've got this. So you're good. You've got a,
I imagine after the first time, like I couldn't get some of the things together, but I realized that the personal pad that I had a lot of like the software in there, and if I could just get that joined, then I could just use that, and so that's how I succeeded.
Yeah, definitely. And you managed to kind of like, like maybe, I don't know, sort of jerry rig these like wires. You kind of like, like take out this little knife and start like, splitting the the like tape or whatever on the wires and exposing the actual wire, and then you sort of like plug it in. To this ports or whatever on your, in the computer. And then like you start to see it slowly interface. And like, as this is happening and you're seeing, like the code scrolling across the data pad and across the view screen on the computer. And you're just like, I almost imagine you'd be like twitching as you're like, come on. But finally a connection is made. And if you can, by the way, what is the data pad? Does the data pad give you 2 boost dice to your computer's checks? Is that right?
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't have a data pad. I have slicer
gear. Yeah. Sorry.
I was actually reading it. It doesn't really seem like it. Sorry. It's actually in my character sheet.
Oh yeah, that's right. I can check. Do you have do you have a like an Outlaw Tech data pad? I thought
No.
You don't.
Oh,
okay.
wait. Well, I don't remember if we had talked about that, because at first I was going to be no, not an Outlaw Tech. I was going to be something else. But,
you were going to be the modder, I think. Okay,
yeah,
what I'm going to say though, then in this case, is that you have a like a data spike or a data kit, data pad that's specifically used for slicing in to systems, and so it's going to give you essentially 2 boost dice to your computer's check, and because of your last roll, and you got 1 advantage on that, I will give you a 3rd boost dice as well. But you're also looking at 3 difficulty because this is an old software with somewhat incompatible software here. So you will want to make a computer's roll for me when you can. But before you do that, Sasha, this is Charlie, this is taking time, right? And as this is happening, you start to hear like first you can actually feel the vibrations, right? And you're about to like go out with the rest of the squad onto onto the parapet when Commander Rin kind of grabs your shoulder and he kind of pulls you a little bit close so that Hemi wouldn't hear, and he says, "Listen, soldier, I appreciate you wanting to get into this fight, but unfortunately, the Duro needs a babysitter. You're gonna have to stay here, all right? Make sure he completes this task."
Yes, sir. Of course, sir. I'll take care of him.
And he makes to leave, and then he kind of looks back at you and he says, "And listen, as soon as he's successful, you head back to the ship. Don't wait for us. Don't come back for us. The most important thing is you get this data off planet and back to the Rebel Alliance. You understand?"
Yes, sir.
Good, soldier. And then he kind of like gives you like a quick salute, and he starts heading up. Started getting his blaster rifle ready. Oh man.
Oh no.
And Hemi, describe how.
I use the light side.
Yeah, describe how. Like what's going through your mind as you fail. However, you realize why you're not getting the data, and so if you can think of like a reason why you could use those, because that's a bunch of advantage. You have 5 advantages, I think, or 4.
Sure. 4.
Yeah, so you fail initially, but you've got a major sort of insight that will help you next time.
So I'm sorry. I'm trying to de-encrypt something that they've already gotten? Or
yes.
I'm trying to,
yep.
Okay.
Exactly. So what they've basically gotten the Imperial codes and stuff on their computer system, but it's encrypted, and the technology that you're using, interfacing with the technology that they're using, interfacing with the code that's in a completely encrypted state, is giving you fits. So
what I think is happening is it's an encryption that I know, but that I didn't have on the particular file that I was attempting to use to decrypt this.
Well, yeah, like you would know the procedure, the process for how to decrypt it, but what you're fighting against is like sort of antiquated technology. So the normal processes and procedures that you would go through aren't necessarily working, and so you're having to adjust. And so what I was thinking is with those advantages, you figured out what adjustments you need to make. But this initial round you failed, and you start to feel like the ground sort of shaking around you as maybe some sort of like gunfire or something is going off nearby.
Yeah, and his like blue face is like glistening in sweat. There's like beads of sweat just all over his bald head. And he kind of does one of those, I don't know who, well, actually, sure I do. He, well, actually, there might be canon for this. So I don't know who they worship. But he's going to kind of reach like deep down inside for a moment, just kind of like, he's not usually a religious, but he's going to kind of go back to like ancient sayings and start mumbling like, but basically to the extent of, if you help me just this one time, I will, get me out of this situation and I'll make it up to you, is basically what he's saying. And he's going to be using a light side point and rolling computers again, I assume?
Yeah, so it's still against 3 difficulty, but I've given you the upgrade for the light side point, and I've given you 2 boost dice as well. Oh, yes. And the gods seem to have, or whoever it was that you were praying to, seem to have come through for you. So you are able to get this data, and it's starting to encrypt. And because you got 4 successes, I'm going to say that it is only going to take about 5 minutes to fully decrypt this information and get downloaded on your data pad. But there's not a lot that you can do at this point other than wait. And it's at this point that you kind of hear sort of muffled and muted because you're underground. Something, along the lines of, "Rebel operatives, You will stand down. This is Imperial Commander Strex Ramina. We have been ordered to infiltrate this facility and detain its occupants. Any resistance will be met with hostile action. Do you understand? And as you know, as an answer to that, you hear and then you kind of feel this rumble a little bit, right? And Charlie, you would realize that this is the feel, and then like almost immediately followed up by the sounds, of this like sort of concussive force. These are large mounted weapons from some sort of probably armored carrier of some sort, and so they are firing on the facility, and you feel this rock, and sort of like sparks start flying a little bit from some of the lights and some of the computer equipment, and Hemi, you'd probably have to like brace yourself a little bit as the whole your surroundings are basically being almost coming apart, and the lights go out at this point, and then like emergency lights come on, and they're just these like thin strips of lights across the across the side, but the computer technology is still turned on. There's and you can hear the hum of like these generators, so it seems like you're on emergency power, but the computer systems are still turned on. And Charlie, that Imperial Protocol, they will blast their way in here, and then they will start sending troops in, and it's going to be fast.
How's it going, Hemi? We don't have much time.
So I guess at this point with those successes, he's kind of like, is this happening at the end of the download or the beginning?
Yeah, so that the lights sort of flickering happened, kind of halfway through the download, and so you realize it's probably going to take you about 5 minutes to get it fully decrypted. And download it on the datapad. Yeah.
5 more minutes. I just need 5 more minutes.
I don't know if we have that long. They're going to be busting in here. I'll do my best to cover you. Is there any way we can take this thing with us?
And he kind of looks around at the like old computers, kind of like pretty big, most of them. And he's just like, no, it's got to be here.
Anything I can do to help?
Just make sure they don't destroy these computers before it's done. And he would pull out his light pistol too, but kind of position himself in such a way that he can see the computer screen and keep an eye on the download. He'll pretty much be distracted by that the whole time, I think.
And
so Charlie will take cover behind something that's in front of the computer bank so that she's ready when they come through.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so you kind of take cover, and you definitely like need it. You're kind of crouching down, arms, maybe resting on like a table or a chair or a computer bank or something, and you keep feeling, more rapidly. And you can start hearing screaming from up above, and you hear return blaster fire, and then you kind of hear from up above, we've been breached, quick, fall back to the, and right, and then you can see these sparks flying and these lights, and Hemi, you're looking at like the countdown timer, right, and you're probably down to about like 58 seconds, 57, 56. 55, right? And Charlie, you start to see lights coming from the hallway, kind of out the door where Commander Rin went. And so these look to be the like maybe flashlights or glow bulbs or something along those lines, and you can hear the doof, 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 doof of footsteps coming down the hall at a fairly rapid pace.
They're coming. They're close. How we doing?
He looks over at the computer.
45, 44, 43, 42.
40 seconds. And his hand is shaking. He's got his like blaster.
Charlie gets her rifle ready. She's aiming at where the light's showing through, ready to fire it. The first sign of trouble it comes through.
Okay, great. And then you see the hallway sort of illuminate red for a minute. And you see two figures kind of backpedaling into into the hallway in front of you, and you realize that it's two of the resistance fighters. And as they are kind of almost making it to you, you see a squad of those immaculate white armor kind of, and there's 4 Imperial stormtroopers standing right there, and you see immediately they fire, and one of the resistance fighters goes down, drops under this hail of gunfire. The other one is just about to the entrance and starts to pull a grenade, right? And he pulls the pin out of this frag grenade and wheels back to throw it, and then gets taken down by the blaster fire. And Sasha, the grenade drops basically maybe not even a meter in front of you. Live grenade as the Twi'lek that was about to throw it goes down. What do you do?
I run for it and grab it and huck it back at him.
Okay. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to have you... All right, this is what I'm going to have you do. We're going to have you do ranged light, but I'm going to increase the difficulty on this because you also have to kind of get to the grenade, pick it up and throw it at the same time, and I don't want to have you make 2 rolls. And I'm also going to impose 1 setback here, because this is a highly stressful situation. If you fail, this might blow up in your face.
Literally.
Yeah. But they're fairly close to you, so it's just going to be a standard 2 difficulty purple. However, I've upgraded it, and you get a setback. So
use the point.
I was going to say, do we have any left?
You do. You got 1 light side point left. Do it.
I'm going to use it. That's what they're there for.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I've upgraded your so do you want to use it to upgrade your check or to downgrade the difficulty back down to 2 purple? If you upgrade, it gives you a better chance of getting that triumph. But
upgrade.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Oh. And whenever you are ready, give me a roll.
Oh
wow.
That's super lucky. Yep. Okay. Let me just take a look. I think it's just 8 on a frag grenade. Okay. Yes. All right. So unfortunately, you cannot activate the grenade's blast quality, which would allow you to take all the stormtroopers out. But basically, in your sort of like desperate scramble to where is it? Frag grenade. Yep, 8. Okay. To get this thing, you kind of like scoop it down almost on the run and like chuck it right out into the hallway, and it goes and knocks down one of the stormtroopers, kind of knocking him back into his companions, and then you can hear the rest of them say, "Rebels, there they are, get them!" And they're going to make their way to you. Hemi, you're looking at the at the countdown again, and it's at 15 seconds. But I want you guys to go ahead and roll initiative for me. Now, you can roll either cool or vigilance, because you potentially could have been prepared for this. So whichever is better for you, go ahead and do that.
Cool is 0. My vigilance is 0. So, okay.
All right, so vigilant.
But they both have 2. So. All right. I'm not cool, so I'm going to use vigilance.
All right.
Even though they're the same stat.
Yep. Okay, and then I'm going to roll for my guys here. Just a second. have vigilance? I think you do.
Charlie's cool.
Yes, Charlie is cool.
Charlie rolled vigilance because her cool isn't as good as her vigilance.
They don't.
Well, that's fine, but compared to Hemi, you're
Yeah.
cool cucumber.
Yeah.
Kind of fits. You're under a lot of pressure right now.
All right. Let's just.
Like 15 seconds.
Okay, so Charlie, we have a PC slot that gets to go first. So you guys get to decide however you want to do this. Actually, let me PC. Whoops, no, I want this, and I need to add. All right. This is why it's important to have these guys in here. Roll here. I'm gonna do it this way because this is improvised. I didn't have these guys set up. All right, so fine. Let's. All right, screw it. I don't care. I'm not gonna use this right now. PC goes first.
Okay. Well, I guess that's going to be me since Hemi's tied up with the computer. So these blaster rifles, do they do burst or?
Yeah, you can. Well, so with a blaster rifle, no, they don't have burst fire, but you can do, like, if you fire, if you get 3, you can do a crit, but no, they don't have like a auto fire option on them. Let me just take a look. Yeah, if you had like a repeater, like a heavy repeating rifle or something, you would, but not on the regular ones.
Okay. So, and is that heavy range?
Yeah, it's ranged heavy.
So I call out to Hemi. Hemi, as soon as you're done, disconnect and get out of here. Go back the way we came. And I start backing toward him and firing at the stormtroopers.
All right, so give me a second here, because I'm going to use one of them dark side points to give you an upgrade. You're going to fire at them, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me. Let me just take a look at. All right, I'm going to give you a boost dice as well because they are disconcerted from the grenades, and also you are about to lay some fire down on them. So you've got a standard 2 difficulty. Actually, no, you got a 1 difficulty because they are within short range at this point. But it is upgraded. So
okay.
Ooh, pulls it off.
Awesome. And so with those 3 advantages, if you want to activate the crit, that will essentially allow you to take out 2 of these guys.
Excellent.
All right, so go ahead and narrate that for me, what that scene looks like.
Okay, so like I'm backing up and firing at them, and I don't know. It's just I don't know, how do you narrate something like that? The stormtroopers are like kind of staggering around from the impact of the grenade, and I just neatly take out one after the other.
Yeah, awesome. You lay down like a couple of and definitely 2 of them get taken out. The other one who was like on the ground from the grenade blast, he's not dead, but he's sort of crawling back, and you see the other one say, retreat back, wait for reinforcements. And they kind of back up into the hallway, and then you can hear a sort of muffled comm chatter. We've got resistance. We need backup immediately. And you imagine that they're probably halfway there already. And Hemi, you see the timer now. Click down 3, 2, 1, and then it pauses at 1 for what seems to be like 10 seconds, right? And then it says complete. So the data has been decrypted, and then it's taking like a minute. You can see like these little bars like scrolling left to right as it's downloading the information onto your data pad, but this part is pretty quick. And And so it's done that, and you now you have the information that you need on your data pad.
Yeah, so I'm going to harness my light blaster and just immediately start doing what I have to do to pack up my. I'm not even really going to be worrying about most of my equipment. Just grab the bag and grab the data pad, and basically pulling it, I think, just right out of the other computer. Might even see the cord dangling. And he just goes, "Charlie, come on, let's hit the road."
Charlie's already, as soon as she hears the guys say they're going to retreat and she sees them doing that, she turns around and runs full bore toward Hemi. So she's already closing on him and ready to roll through the door.
Yeah,
okay.
So that's it. Running the opposite direction.
Okay, and just as you basically get to the door, you again hear doof, doof, doof. And the ground of the facility itself doesn't seem to be shaking anymore. But what's happening is, and I would imagine, Charlie, you might recognize this first. It seems as though the entrance that you came in, right, is now under heavy artillery fire. They would have basically radioed back saying, this is where you are. So you guys got a couple options at this point. You are fairly sure that you are going to have a damn hard time safely making it back with the situation you're in now. However, Hemi, you might still be able to access some computer equipment. There's certainly a possibility that you could try to scramble their signals or something like that. But a straight run at this point is not going to work. So what do you guys want to do?
Are there any other exits out of here besides the two that we're already aware of?
Ooh, I mean, not that you can immediately notice. Short of having a layout, which you might be able to get if you want to go back into that main room, you wouldn't necessarily know. You could check with a pretty hard perception check, or you could potentially use a light side point to say that yes, indeed, there is.
What do you say?
Well, so wait, we never actually left the room then, right? We turned to leave and we saw that the exit there was being bombarded.
No, you left the room. You just barely got out of the room, but there was a hallway, right, that you were going to go down, and then you would have to turn right in this case to go back to the entrance. But Charlie is realizing that outside the facility, when you came out, is being bombarded by heavy artillery fire. So you would not be able to go out the same way that you came in to the facility.
Okay, so Hemi would look to Charlie and say, "Damn it, but I need another computer. I need to find us a way out of here."
Um,
And then I'll leave it up to you if you want to use the light side point. If you do, you could obviously just say we could go that way.
I'm going to use light side point. There's got to be ductwork here somewhere. Eric's got to get in here somehow. So Charlie spots a good-sized duct, and she makes her way to it, yanks the cover off. Get in.
Excellent
And,
use of light side point.
That's awesome. So I feel like as Hemi starts crawling in and Charlie behind him, he's going to look back and he's going to be like, "Wow, really glad this is the air vent. For a second, I thought it was the trash compactor."
Bad news.
Nice. Oh man, I wish this mechanic had, or this system had an inspiration mechanic. I'm not going to give you a light side point for that, but that was excellent. Yeah. All right. So you basically kind of hoist Hemi up, almost you put your hands down and he puts his heel, on your hand, and you kind of shove him up into the ductwork, and then you jump up, very athletically, maybe put the the blaster up there first, kind of push it in a little bit, and then you pull your way up. you know, all that upper body training that you would be doing. And then you kind of, you know, you're making your way through the vents, and I would imagine, Charlie, that you would have like your flashlight, your glow rod or whatever out, you know, kind of navigating your way through this pitch black thing. And as you're making it closer and closer, and you're sort of like, you're almost feeling like the air current, like where the air is going, and going the opposite way, right? Because it would be probably sucking it from outside and bringing it in to recycle it. And so you're kind of going that way. And as this is happening, you start feeling these like light tremors in the duct. And you start feeling like this facility is definitely being bombarded now. And then you hear a couple of like people underneath you, like in the actual facility proper, like running, and they're like, the whole place is about to come down. We must get out. We got to get out now. And then you hear, another voice say, this is our home. We will not abandon our home to these rebels or to these Imperial scum. We will fight. And he says, I know we will fight, but we can't do it from in here. And he says, then where else do we have to fight? No, we will make our stand here. And then you kind of hear the voices trail off a little bit as they're kind of running down the other way. And you make your way out to this grate on the other end, you know, a big sort of utility grate, where it would be sort of halfway up the wall of this facility. And you can kind of see the starlight a little bit outside, and the courtyard area is illuminated not by lights, but actually by the explosions and the fire caused by those from the Imperial artillery that's battering the front entrance. But you would probably be able to, if you can get this grate out, you could probably at least get down and onto the surface level without too much danger.
Right. So yeah, we is there room for me to get past Hemi in this vent?
Well, you would be ahead of him, I would imagine. Like he would have like moved over as you kind of came up, and you would have taken the lead. So yeah, you'd be in front.
So I scooch myself around and kick with both feet, and just kick that vent cover right off, and then I guess I'd help him get down before I got down myself.
Yeah, and mainly that would consist of catching the slicer gear that I dropped down, and then kind of, as I kind of gracelessly hang from the vent for a second, and like I'm afraid to drop the 3 feet. I kind of drop and then stumble a little bit, and get kind of caught before I hit my butt.
Absolutely. And so, as you guys kind of both make it to the ground, you have maybe a moment or two of solid footing before everything is shaking and rattling as another barrage of artillery fire just craters the whole area around you. And the only thing you can do basically is just hunker up against this canyon wall, sort of hands over your head and face to protect you from flying debris. And then to sort of juxtapose that, it all of a sudden goes eerily quiet. And all you can hear, the concussive force has stopped. The artillery fire has stopped. You don't hear the screaming and the moaning of the dead. You don't hear the blaster fire anymore. And you're almost sort of half buried in this crater and rubble. But you would look up and you would see on what's left of effectively the ramparts, like the whole facility almost looks like it has fallen in, but there's this like one section of the sort of the rampart walls on the top that is still intact. It's just now on the ground. And you would be able to see one of it looks like probably Buraban, hunkered down there right next to Commander Rin. And on the other side, you see the two large Imperial walkers, not the AT-ATs, but the AT-STs, the scout walkers. And there's an armored personnel carrier as well. And you can see off in the distance a it looks like up in the air, some sort of, vessels are coming in, whether they are, Imperial drop ships or something, but some vessels are coming in, and you see this female Imperial officer step out into the middle of this decimated sort of wasteland, and very prim, very proper. She's very tall, jet black skin, raven dark hair. And she looks up at the rampart. And then it's not that much higher above her at this point, but she's half standing in a crater. And she says, "Well, you Imperial scum, you rebel scum, this is the price you pay for interfering in Imperial business. Now, listen, you hand over the Twi'lek and the data that he stole, and perhaps I'll put in a word. We'll send you to the spice mines of Kessel instead of the Imperial firing squad. What do you say?" And you know that Commander Rin's not going to take that deal. And as you kind of see, you're waiting for the response here, right? You see 2 squads of stormtroopers start to flank on either side of the Imperial commander, and Commander Rin stands up, and he sort of he puts his blaster his blaster kind of up on the rampart wall, and he says, "Commander Ramina, I am Barrack Rin, commander of the Rebel Alliance forces here on Ryloth. We will never surrender. We will never turn over our allies." And with that, he takes a shot at her, and he's a good shot, but you can tell that he's injured, and she actually ducks out of the way, and she doesn't look frightened. It's almost as if by rote, she just kind of moves her head and her shoulders out of the way a little bit, and the blaster fire actually hits one of the stormtroopers behind her and takes him down. And you see the squads kind of aiming their their blasters up at the ramparts, and she holds up her hand to stop, giving them the stop signal, and then she says, "Not unexpected, Commander Rin," and she spits at that. "But unfortunately, that action will cost you your life." And then you can see the stormtroopers almost like waiting, like they're ready to fire. And then she kind of holds up her fingers and she does something, and she kind of like flicks towards the facility, and you see the walkers, kind of their guns come up, and in this just hail of gunfire and blaster fire, the whole like rock and duracrete just flying everywhere, and she's just standing there almost illuminated, her face illuminated by all the light from the fire, and you can see the stormtroopers just standing there stock still, and in the the black like visors on their helmets, you can see the flashes of fire as you presume your rebel friends are being killed. But it might give you a split second to get out of there if you want to. So how are you guys going to respond?
Oh, man.
So I think Hemi is going to kind of nudge Charlie forward and say, "Rin is done for. We have to leave, but keep your eye out for Drex or Slevin." Those are 2 other crewmates that he is friends with, while not being that close to Rin. We have to get them before taking off.
We need to make a beeline for that ship. Go.
Yeah, we'll try to take that opportunity.
All right. So are you going to make any attempt at stealth whatsoever, or are you going to try to just book it as fast as you can out of here?
I'm behind Charlie, so if Charlie takes off, then I'm going to take off just to keep up.
I think oh boy. Charlie's not real confident in Hemi's ability to be stealthy, but I think she'd try. So she's going to be looking for things to duck behind, things to stay undercover, and hope that their attention continues to be drawn by Barrick.
Okay. All right, let me do this. I'm going to set my dice pool here, and I'm going to use a dark side point. All right, so what I'm going to do effectively is you're going to make a stealth roll for me. And I'm going to set the difficulty at 2, but I am going to upgrade it. However, because of the distraction and because of the fact that they are reveling in the destruction, they assume, of the rebel forces and the Twi'lek resistance, they are not specifically looking for you. So you've got 2 boost dice as well. Yeah, so, but go ahead and make that stealth check for me. Oh, Sasha and Hemi. Okay, good. So you both made it. Interesting. All right.
Well, right.
Sasha or Charlie
failed,
yeah. But she has a bunch of advantages.
Okay. So, all right. This is what I think happens. You guys are sort of running along, trying to get behind cover, and Sasha, as you, Charlie, as you kind of make your way along, I think you would see one of, you would see the rebel commander, you would see Barak Rim is not in fact dead, right? Is sort of making his way out of the rubble and stealthily climbing along. And because you notice that, it slows you down a little bit. And you actually kind of trip over some debris and fall down, and it makes a crashing sound. And it does manage to draw the attention of one of the stormtrooper squads. But if you want, maybe with all those advantages, you are in such a position that they don't actually see you because you sort of fell down and you're half in this crater and you're also like basically undercover. But they just know the general direction that you were from. Does that make sense, or do you have a different idea for how you'd want to use those advantages?
No, that's kind of perfect. And so she just kind of freezes there for a moment to give them a chance to divert their attention elsewhere again.
Okay. And Hemi, you realize that any attention at this point is now focused on Charlie, and you are able to get out of here if you want to take that opportunity. So what would you do, noticing that you basically got a clear shot back to the...
Well, keeping in mind that this is a prequel, I think we already know what Hemi does. He doesn't really look back. Like, he could deny in his head that he knew that Charlie had been caught up later, but in reality, he heard the crash. He knows she's not right behind him, and but he keeps going anyway.
Okay. So you start heading towards back the way you came, towards the ship, like you know where it is at this point. And you're kind of running along. Charlie, you start to see the commander, and he's making his way, and you know that he's not quite aware that the Imperials are fixated on your position, but he's heading towards your position. But he can see you, and you can see him. How would you react in this situation?
I like signal to him, like, no, like, stop, don't come this way, signals, because I see that they're headed this way, and I don't want him to get caught up in that. And then I like try to use the cover of this little crater I'm in, kind of hedge my way away from where I originally fell.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, and so what I'll say then in that case is that you you kind of make your way sort of back and out a little bit, backing up. And while you're now exposed, and you can see that a squad of stormtroopers is nearly on your position, and not too far behind them is one of the walkers, right, coming along behind them. You also realize that, like where you are, there is a crate of. It's kind of blown open, right? And there's a crate of munitions, of weapons. And so potentially, you actually see in there are some frag grenades. So you have an opportunity, if you want to try to attack the squad, you can do so. Or you could try to flee and get out of there.
So I'm going to grab a frag grenade and load up I'll grab some, stuff them in my pockets or whatever, but I'll start hucking them at the troops.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm gonna have you make a. I'm gonna use another dark side point. I'm gonna have you make a ranged light attack roll. They're at medium range at this point, so it's normal 2 purples. But I'm also going to impose 1 setback as well, because they were aware that somebody was there, so they're ready for resistance.
Sure. And I'm sorry, did you say ranged light this time?
Yep, ranged light.
Okay. Haha.
All right, excellent. So again, you're not able to activate the blast quality, which would take out the entire squad, but you are able to throw the grenade, right, and it blows up, and it definitely stops the squad for a moment, right, as they're trying to, they scatter and they try to regroup. It does not deter the walker, however, but it might buy you just a moment to, if you want to make an athletics check to try to run out of here.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll do that.
And just so anybody's watching at home, I'm not using the standard maneuver and action rules as you would see in combat. I'm doing narrative action at this point. So, all right. So right now, you have 1 boost dice because of your advantage that you got. They are distracted. But I'm going to set this at a 2 purple. Actually, I'm going to set this at a 3 purple difficulty because you did already sort of have to plant to throw the grenade. And the pressure of that walker coming after you is a little bit frightening. So this is a little bit difficult, but go ahead and make that athletics check for me. You can use a light side point if you want to, just so you know.
Yes.
Okay. So if you're going to do that, I'll give you the upgrade, and whenever you're ready, go ahead and roll.
All right. Oh.
Okay. So what I'm going to say is that you start to take off, right? And you start running for cover towards the canyon. And before you make it, maybe you make it a few steps, and you can hear first the doof, 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 of those giant, like, turbo lasers or whatever on the walker, and then like the ground just erupts in front of you and knocks you to the ground. You kind of go flying a little bit, but you manage to sort of tuck and roll off to the side, and you sort of there's like this little trench or whatever, where like water and other stuff would sort of flow like on the side of this path, and you've kind of managed to fall down in there. So I'll say that if you wanted to make any kind of stealth roll or any kind of roll like that, I'll give you a boost dice on your next check.
Okay. So yeah, I will try to stealth along in this trench for a little bit and see if I can't get some distance that way.
Okay, and as you do that, you're sort of stealthing along for a moment, and then it seems as though it seems like you're going to make it. And then just as you sort of are making it to, you know, to the kind of like the part of the canyon where, you know that your ship is hidden. You then sort of hear the servos right of the walker, and you kind of look up, and over your shoulder it's like looming right there above you, and you can see the guns kind of angled down right on you. And then I would imagine you almost brace, right? Like what else are you going to do? You just sort of tense up as this thing is going to shoot you. And then all of a sudden you hear this, right? And the force of it knocks you back a little bit. And I would imagine like this shrapnel kind of cuts your face a little bit. So take 2 points of strain as you kind of get this like cut on your face, and you sort of fall back, and the air comes sort of out of you. And then you see the walker basically with this gigantic hole in its torso, smoking and whatever. And then you see the knees, the knee joints of this thing start to buckle, and it's like falling right at you. So make an athletics check for me, if you will. Okay. And I'm going to, do 2 difficulty, 2 purple, and you have 1 setback because of the wind knocked out of you and all that. But make an athletics check. Okay. So take another 2 points of strain, as the effort of this is just ridiculous. But you manage to sort of heave yourself out of the way as the walker crashes down right as your foot kind of gets right out of the way. Right. And it sends this water flying, and you can, the oil and everything from this thing is starting to leak out, and there's, flames and hot metal everywhere. And you can kind of see the dead troopers inside that were operating this thing. And then, you kind of look up on the canyon, and you see this figure standing there, this lone figure. And he's kind of looking down, and as your vision starts to clear a little bit, you recognize, the rebel uniform, and you see your eyes start to focus in, and you see that this is in fact Commander Barak Rin. And he kind of looks down at you, and he says, "Sergeant, you alive down there?"
"Yes, sir."
He said, "God, thank the stars. Listen, I'll try to buy you some time. You got to get back to that ship. You got to get Hemi out of here."
"Yes, sir. Thank you, sir." And I sprint.
And then you see him kind of turn around very slowly, kind of calmly, and he pulls out a grenade in each hand, and he's like, "Come at me, you Imperial scum!" And he pulls them, and he starts chucking them. And then he sort of like ducks down into the same trench that you were in. And you manage to make your way into the canyon just as you hear this. And then you can hear, the, and so we'll cut back to Hemi for a minute. Hemi, you manage to make it almost back to you're coming into like this little clearing area, right, where the ship is landed, and that it's probably a dozen meters or so ahead of you. When you start to hear this sort of like this growling sound coming ahead of you and off to your left just a little bit.
And he's going to kind of like not freeze. He's just going to start walking slowly, and he's going to look over that way, and his shaking hand is going to like touch on his light blaster.
Okay. And okay, so you're going to keep walking, your hand goes to your blaster, and as you sort of continue to walk, you will notice that kind of almost coming out of the shadows ahead of you is, again, this large 4-legged feline type creature. And you can see that around it are the corpses of these little rats. and it's looking at you, and it's snarling, and it has these great big like tusks on its face. Look very menacing and deadly. There's only one, but it's probably somewhere around 2 meters high and 3 meters long. So this thing is enormous.
So, and how big are those rats? Out of curiosity.
I don't know how big did Luke say the womp rats, were that he bullseyed in his T16 back home. They're not very big. Yeah, about that size.
Okay, so they're pretty big too. Okay, I was just trying to gauge how full this thing is. So Hemi is gonna kind of be backing away. Instead of pulling his pistol out, though, he's gonna see kind of the blood and the meat, like just kind of dripping everywhere, and start hoping that this cat has taken its fill, and the attention it's showing him at this moment is only to be defensive and protective of the kill. So he's going to start backing away and hoping that he doesn't aggravate it to the point of attack.
Okay. So the problem is that, so you're backing up. So you would have to proceed forward to get to the ship. So if you're backing away.
No, I mean, I'm sorry. So like I kind of turn my body, like, like, you know what I mean? Like I keep going to the ship, but I always keep my face looking at it.
Okay.
What I mean.
All right. I gotcha. Yeah. So, I mean, essentially you're kind of you're going to have to be getting closer to it. But what I imagine you would be doing is you'd be skirting the opposite side of the canyon wall. But it's basically between you and the ship, just kind of off to your left a little bit.
I gotcha.
So yeah, so you could attempt to do that if you want to. But as it's getting closer to you, as you're kind of getting closer to it, you're looking at it, and you can see its eyes are tracking you, and it's snarling at you. And it's not necessarily making any hostile moves right this minute, but it definitely is like eyes locked on you, and you can see that it starts to like its legs start to lower a little bit, and its joints start to compress, and it looks like it's getting into a pounce position.
So yeah, I mean, I think with Hemi's so I think he's just going to kind of try to bolt now. It might not be the smartest move, but I mean, I think that's what Hemi would have tried to do in this situation. So he's going to see this cat get into a pouncing situation and kind of throw away the caution of keeping his eyes on it and just kind of run. But he's going to pull his blaster out as he does, so it's in his hand at least.
Okay. Gonna try to pounce on you. He's good at it. Oh, whoops. Add one. Sorry, let me add one. I had 2 difficulty there. Still. All right, so that's just rat. So we still succeed with 1, 3, 4, 5 instead of 6 advantages. Okay. So this thing pounces on you, right? And you can hear it snarl, and so far it kind of pounces, leaps on you. Its 2 powerful front paws are pinning you to the ground, and your head kind of hits real hard on the ground, and for a moment your vision is swimming as this like hot breath from this thing snarling down at you kind of hits you in the face, and you can feel this, like, you don't know if it's drool or some sort of leftovers from the meal that it had, but you feel this like liquid dripping onto your face. And we're going to cut back just for a moment to Charlie. So Charlie, you basically come into the scene just as you see Hemi basically up against the wall, kind of skirting his way along, and you see this predator cat that you saw before pounce on him and basically pin him right to the ground. And I imagine you'd probably hear Hemi, like, I don't know, let out some kind of shriek or cry or whatever
Sure.
And you can hear this snarling, as this thing is basically attacked Hemi. So you'll have an opportunity here if you want to do something really quick.
Yeah, I yell out really loudly, get off him, and take aim with my blaster rifle.
Okay, absolutely. And so, like, do you want to like stop, actually take a moment to aim at the thing, and then take a shot at it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll take the aim maneuver, so that'll give you a boost dice. This thing is going to be at medium range at this point. This is an adversary, so we get to upgrade the difficulty ones. And, oh, it's got defense. Awesome. Okay. So, let's see.
Sounds like he's shopping.
I'll
take one of those. Two of those.
This thing is fun. Okay, so yeah, so you're looking right now at basically 1 red, 1 purple, 1 black dice, and then you've got a 1 boost dice as well. And so, Charlie, you'd be rolling. You're doing your rifle, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so ranged heavy.
I think I'll use a light side point.
Okay.
Upgrade my.
Let me add the upgrade for you. Okay, and whenever you're ready, you should be good to go.
And then ranged which again?
Heavy.
Heavy. Yay. That's my good one. Oh.
All right.
Oh, come on.
That's brutal. Brutal. All right. So you don't succeed. You fire, right?
Right.
And this thing, just with like this agility that is startling, sort of weaves and ducks out of the way. But what it does do is it is now distracted by you, and it is sort of like, it's still kind of pounced on Hemi, but its focus is no longer on him. It is now on Charlie. And Hemi, this kind of gives you an opportunity. If you want to try to do something, now would be your chance. You're pinned, but your arms are free.
Yeah, my light blaster is out, so I'm essentially going to try to, we'll see how this roll goes, but I'm going to try to take the blaster and kind of reach up really quickly and just kind of put it right up against this thing's head and pull the trigger.
Okay, so you are... Let's take a look. All right, I'm going to give you 2 boost dice here. It's still adversary 1, so you're still looking at 1 red for the difficulty. But I'm going to give you 2 boost dice, 1 for its distraction and 1 for the fact that, you're like point blank range going to fire at this thing. However, do take 1 point of strain, as this is like you mustering the mental fortitude to be able to do this. I imagine would be pretty difficult. So, but whenever you're ready, go ahead and make the ranged light roll for me.
Okay. Sorry, this confused him. My sheet is set up for the other Hemi, and he's wounded. But I don't want to change that because then I'll forget for the next one. So that would be a strain threshold. Okay, so I'll just have to remember. No worries. And ranged light, you said?
Yep.
Comes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
So yeah, man, like exactly like that. Like I'm gonna reach up. I figure like right under the jaw of this thing, and I'm just gonna like turn away and pull the blaster trigger.
All right, and that's a light. Is it a light blaster pistol?
Light blaster. Yeah. So that is. I have that in my character sheet in here too.
Yeah.
But I think
5 damage, 4 crit. I think, yeah.
Sorry, I'm in the skills area right now. I have to go over to item inventory.
Yeah, no problem. I'm pretty sure it's a light blaster, not a blaster pistol. Sorry, I didn't have your...
Yeah, no, it definitely had light
okay.
in the title. It was not...
okay.
Yeah, it wasn't anything.
Gotcha. So you don't have enough to crit on this creature, but you definitely deal 5, 6, 7, 8 damage to it.
5, 4.
Let me take a look. And what I'm going to say, too, is that This is going to effectively, excuse me. Oh, I forgot to add the other thing on there as well, but oh well. This is going to effectively negate its defense that it has. So Sasha can take a shot at it and make it a little easier on her turn. But yeah, you definitely you fire at this thing. But I mean, because it's so agile, it manages to kind of, again, move out of the way. So you're not pinned anymore. And you definitely graze the thing, but unfortunately you didn't, tap it right in the skull. And actually I think at this point it is going to, it is going to run at this point. It's going to take off. You're too much, the foes here are too great. This is not worth it, and it's already eaten. So it's going to try to get out of here.
Right, as it does that, yep. Charlie makes noise at it and kind of runs, forward to try to kind of further encourage it to do exactly that.
I'm imagining a sand person.
Yeah. Nice. And so, and it scurries off. And then, and so here you are. So Hemi is still lying on the ground, blaster in his hand, having just basically shot this thing and scared it off. So how do you guys react?
Are you okay? And I reach out my hand to help you up.
And he takes your hand and he's just shaking like, oh my God, you're alive. Charlie, you're alive.
By the seat of my pants I am, but yeah. And I'm looking him up and down to make sure he's all in one piece.
He kind of looks behind her a little bit. He's just like, Drex, Slevin, Rin, sorry.
I'm sorry, no luck, but Commander Rin, he gave me cover so I could get you out of here, so we better just get moving. I'm sorry.
Kind of breathes for a second. He goes, maybe one of them will get back to the ship. And he'll kind of finish picking up some things I think might have scattered when he got clobbered by the cat and put them in his bag and get ready to start hustling.
I hope so. And she helps you along and heads for the ship.
Absolutely. And so as you guys, so you make it back to the ship and you kind of get in the cockpit, and Charlie, you start the, pre-flight procedures, right? Getting everything, the sublight engines, powered up and everything. And Hemi, you're kind of like in the co-pilot seat, maybe just doing what you can, maybe monitoring sensors or whatever. And, you can actually see as, as the engine is spooling up and there's maybe just like a couple more minutes before you'll be able to take off. On the scanners, Hemi, you notice a couple of things. You notice that there are 2 signatures of Imperial ships coming in. They look like to be not 2 signatures. It's actually it's 4 signatures, but it looks to be like probably 2 transport ships, each with a TIE fighter escort. So there are effectively 4 ships headed towards you guys. And on the ground, the scanners are picking up several different life forms, all sort of heading your way. You see a group of about 3 life forms, and then further back there is, it looks like to be probably about 20 or so. Probably your best estimation, probably about 100 meters behind those guys, but closing fast. You estimate that the ships will probably be on your position within about, maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
And where are we from the ship, from our ship?
You guys are in your ship right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're in our ship.
Yep.
So, So Hemi would definitely see those 3 signatures, and he would look to Charlie and say, "We can't take off yet. These could be them. There's 3 signatures coming in."
Chris, are you still there?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute that time.
Oh, no problem.
So did he share that with you, with her, as he was seeing it?
You would probably see it as well. I mean, it's it's on he would be actively monitoring it, but you may not necessarily put together what you're seeing, Charlie, right? Because you're still going through the pre-flight checklist. So all he's saying is we can't leave yet. This might be them.
Okay. All right. Well, we can delay a moment or two, but we got to get out of here before those Imperials arrive. Your top priority right now.
Is there a gun on this ship?
Yep. There is. Yeah, you would have a dorsal mounted quad laser cannon.
So Hemi is going to say, "You can handle this. I'm going to man a gun. Try to give them some cover."
Good idea.
And he'll kind of roll out of his seat and take off towards the dorsal mounted gun.
Nice. And I would imagine, Charlie, that as you say good idea, you're actually wondering whether it is or not, because as far as you know, Hemi has no training in ship's weapons at all. But it's at this point, though, that you notice the heat signatures, the transponder signals of Imperial ships closing fast. And you kind of quickly look over and you realize that those ships are going to make it onto your position before you would effectively be able to load any people onto your ship and get them out of here. So as Hemi is sort of making his way to the gun turrets, you kind of get over the comms, your personal comms, right?
Right.
This is Commander Wren. I've got Drex and Slevin with me. Are you there? Are you there, Charlie?
We're here. We've got Imperials closing fast.
I know. They're right on our tails. Listen, was Hemi successful? Did he get the data?
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Good. Whoa. We're almost there. Just give us a moment, and we'll be on board and we can get out of here. And you realize that you don't have a moment. Like, you literally don't have time. In fact, you start, the alarm on your ship starts beeping as a proximity alarm as the ships are coming in. And you can see just faintly off in the night sky 2 TIE fighters coming down, and then 2 Imperial shuttles behind them, which Imperial shuttles are armed. But they probably also have troops. So you have to get out of here if you want to have any chance of making it out.
So Charlie cuts her comm, and she goes ahead and proceeds with takeoff. And she just says to her, out loud to herself, like, "I'm sorry." And she just sets the ship on course and gets it out of there.
And Hemi, as this is happening, you would probably be aware of this whole thing. You would have heard the comms. What do you say, or what do you do as you can tell that Charlie is starting to actually take off? The ship is starting to lift off.
So I think just when she starts to do it, he starts to scream, "No, don't, just a moment. We just need a minute." But the comm shut off, and he knows he's just screaming into nothing, and he takes comm out and kind of throws it. But he's too far away from the cockpit to physically do anything, even if he really wanted to. But he also can sense that they have to get out of there. So he's just kind of having a bit of a meltdown in the gunner's chair.
Okay. And I would imagine that as this is happening, you're kind of taking off, and below you can see Commander Wren being basically held up by who you recognize as Drex and Slevin. They're half dragging him as one of his legs is like all mangled and destroyed. And as you can kind of see the ship, or the ship starts to take off, right? And you can see Slevin kind of drops the commander a little bit, and he starts like shaking his fist at you, damn you, Hemi, because he can see you, and you can all just barely make out the look on their faces. And Commander Rin looks just stoic as ever, right? Like he kind of just this stone face. And then just at the very end, you kind of see this scowl, and you see this look of shocked anger from Drex as Drex. Is Drex a man or a woman?
I think a man.
Okay, as he can't even believe.
From Guardians.
No problem. He can't even believe what's happening, right? As he's being abandoned. And Slevin is just outraged, right? And actually, you would see Slevin start pulling his blaster out and just start firing at your ship. And then as you're getting further and further away, you would see like Commander Rin sort of pull Slevin, pull on his leg, and then he kind of points back behind him, and you know that they're going to make a last stand, or what you assume will be a last stand. And as you're kind of breaking atmosphere on this, you see the two Imperial shuttles are starting to land in this canyon, but the two TIE fighters break off and are in pursuit. And I'm not going to make you roll on this, but if you want to, actually, I'll tell you what, Hemi, go ahead and give me just a straight force dice roll.
Oh. Force dice roll.
Yep. Okay. So it should be right in the middle of your dice pool up at the top.
Okay.
Yeah. Just click it up one and then just click the little, yeah.
Is that the wrong thing?
It might have been. Don't worry. I'll roll it here for you. Ooh.
Oh.
Okay. So as you are taking off, you don't even have the wherewithal, the ability to even fire, and they start firing at you. And Charlie is saying, Hemi, get in here. I need help with the hyperspace coordinates. You gotta help me. And she's like juking in and out, right? And you run down, and you start helping her with the hyperspace coordinates, and you get it put in, right? And then but you start to hesitate because as you're sort of entering the last coordinates, you're just seeing that look on Drex's face of this just absolute shocked disbelief, and you pause for just a minute, and then Charlie says, "What are you doing? We don't have time. Put in the coordinates," right? And you finally do. You snap back into it, and you finally do. And just as she goes to hit the button for hyperspace, your ship gets rocked as it gets hit by the blaster from fire from these two TIE fighters. And the ship manages to, the shields keep you alive, right? And keep your hull intact, but it rocks the ship forward, and you see Charlie's face just smash right into the console from the impact of this thing. And as you rock it into hyperspace, and the star lines, go from stars into these white lines, and you kind of just look over, and as her head is being pulled back into her chair with the momentum, her face is just this big mass of blood as her nose was broken on the console of this thing. And she's sort of looking at you, and you can just hear like she's basically drowning on the blood as it's like, suffocating her. And then you manage to punch it into hyperspace. And that is where we will end the session tonight.
That was terribly good.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. I
Dramatic.
I feel like that's how I imagine Edge of the Empire sessions. So for me, it's hard to think about like, okay, running a it's almost an Age of Rebellion type thing. I'm like, I don't want this to be heroic. Like this is more like Rogue One, Age of Rebellion. Plus, with your backstory, I sort of had to take that into consideration. But yeah, that I thought that was a lot of fun.
So is Charlie dead?
Why don't we leave that up to Chris? What do you think?
I think she probably is dead. Unless Hemi can I think she's dead. I mean, you were supposed to be the only survivor, right?
Well, yeah, so far as I know, so that would make sense. It works really well.
If she lived, there'd be this really weird thing between them now because she left.
Yeah.
She left her friends, and you have her to blame for it. But I think with your drug addiction and stuff, her dying is probably supports that a lot better.
No, I think it's perfect because he can always blame her for leaving them, but he can only blame himself for panicking and not getting the nav coordinations in fast enough and costing you your life. So I think it's sort of that really ties it all
enough
together.
of a conundrum to really drive him over the edge.
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes it not as blatant as like I left, which I was almost trying to steer it there, but I wasn't because I didn't want to force it. But since I wasn't the main pilot, I was like, I'm not going to force myself into that seat. And I just trusted that Sam would take care of it. He did.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, that was funny because when Chris was like, "Yep," and then I leave, I was sort of like, "Oh, that makes sense." But I was trying to. What I wanted to do was put those guys like Drex and Slevin and the commander in there to see how you guys would react to that. And I think that it worked well because I think but I think especially Chris, like it made a lot of sense for you to do that because the commander had basically told you like get out of here, but then at the same point he's like, oh, we're here, just hold on a second,
right,
we can make it out.
And she'd know that in his right mind he wouldn't say that, right. Like she knows that he would get that they had to leave.
Well, I will tell you that the way I pictured the scene, he was unaware of the ships coming in. So he very much wanted to get on the ship and get out of there. But yes. And Drex,
he thought the only threat was coming from behind him. But in reality,
And Drex and Slevin for sure were pretty pissed. But cool. Well, yeah, so thank you guys for playing. That was a lot of fun. Thanks anyone for watching. Hopefully this was a fun session. I would imagine it was probably a little bit rough because I had to improv the whole thing, but I had fun nonetheless. So if you guys are ever interested, check back here. I will let you know. This will probably be where I will broadcast the majority of my Edge of the Empire games from now on. And I will also put this up on YouTube at some point with probably some minor editing. So keep an eye out there. And everybody have a great night and a great weekend.
Bye, everybody.